woke up late, charts on fire, red and green like a funeral pyre. Discord screaming LFG, but my portfolio's haunting me. Spiked my coffee with regret. Last night I longed to break out bet. Now I'm broke, not broken yet. Just one more pump, I won't forget. Buy high, die huddling. The gen brain dopamine's controlling. Ride the whale or get wrecked clean. This crypto dream's a guillotine. Fake guru with 1,000 subs showed me coins in shady clubs. Promised moons, Lambos and jets. Now I'm left with JPEGs and debts. Scalped my soul in a 5-minute chart. Market dumped and it ripped my heart. But I'll reload, I'll play to win. Even if I lose it all again. Buy high, die huddling. Gas fees burn, but I keep rolling. Almost God, greed's the king. This crypto dream's a punk rock thing. Diamond hands with the crack in the glass. Risk it all, no brakes, full gas. Liquidation, call me sweet. Whisper wealth could burn, but I keep rolling. If I crash, at least I tried. In this wild west of blockchain rights. I'll be trading till the lights go out. Charts are noise, but I live for the sound. One candle spike, and I'm back in town. Crypto's a fight, and I'm 10 toes down. Diamond hands with the crack in the glass. Risk it all, no brakes, full gas. But I'll reload, I play to win. Even if I lose it all again.
What's up, guys? How's it going? It's Friday. Looks like Bitcoin is on course towards our target. Let's see what we have in the chat. We've got Pluff. How you doing, man? Coma, Wagner, Melissa. What's up? Sterling. How you doing, Sterling? So we got our own troll in the background now. Oh, we got Jim Cramer up there. I don't know if you guys can see it, but who the fuck is behind you? It's Jim Cramer. Yeah, the market troll. We Sterling and I were having fun building that yesterday. Found out that the troll that I wanted to build was not to the height that it said on the box. It's like 9.5 feet, and this room is 8 feet tall. But yeah, so we stuck Kramer's face on there instead. Crypto King, bro, appreciate the tip, man. We just started. $100, crazy, man. How you guys doing? But yeah, so Bitcoin's been on a run. Our cash trade's doing really good too. We've got this uptrending momentum that's been breached a little. We got a rounded bottom off of our previous supply acting as support in confluence with that previous point of control. We need that higher high, obviously, to define that that continuation. We have this unclaimed high here. If taken, then we're very, very likely to go into our next barrier. The primary barrier that we're worried about before hitting the target is 117K. Oh, so yeah, if we're gonna have a boring weekend, it could be us just consolidating off this previous point of control for that helpful continuation to the upside. Otherwise, we do have a little demand right below us. So if we do lose this, it might be a short-lived drop to pump back up and just continue off this range using this as our range floor as a form of support. Million, what's up? Hedera, how you doing? Bitcoin long since 114.4 and cash since A267. Good job. Yeah, so cash, looking at Caspa here. Oh, my bad. We broke out of our downtrending momentum right here. We figured based on the inverse head and shoulders measurable base target that we would be breaking that momentum really shortly after entering. Our stop loss guard, I still haven't moved my stop loss. I want to wait until we confirm a continuation beyond this 50-day EMA. And then from there, I'll be moving my stop loss from a loss to a little bit in the profit zone, just above break even. And then I would like to see what kind of reaction we get to the local resistance at 0.091, which will be relatively close to the 200-day EMA. So if I see an opposing change of character here, I might take some off the table, probably around 75%, maybe 50, and yeah, then evolve my stop loss between here and here. There should be a new generated strong low where I'd put my stop loss below that area and give it some distance away from like a local strong low around here in hopes that we get a continuation eventually to break past it. So it's just still sitting in my hands here. If we lose this point of control as support and we use it as resistance, I might just take some off the table as well, reactionally letting myself get some gains instead of letting it come down and potentially getting us knocked out. Alex, so crypto, how you doing, man? This guy gave me a $100 tip just to say hello. I appreciate it, bro. How you doing, man? Doing pretty good. We are making some gains. We got the Caspa setup, just going over that. We are above the point of control. This is a, 60-day? How old is this value area? Yeah, about a 60-day value area. So if we stay above this point of control, our next area of interest is the equilibrium point of the valley area. So right here, this is where we'll be looking at a volume shelf in confluence with that area. So I'm thinking we could probably hit our head a little bit there. That will induce the pullback for the next strong low. And then our real boss that we need to worry about is this 200-day EMA. And then we'll be set. If we break past that, then we'll be hitting our target pretty much guaranteed after getting past the 200-day. But that 200-day is going to be a problem for sure. But at least if we're forced out of our trade, we'd still have proper risk-to-reward ratio in that area. Okay, let's see. Now for Bitcoin, we got that rounded bottom. We're trying to form support off the point of control. We need that higher high to get the continuation towards the 16-day valley area low. And if we get acceptance into that valley area with a break of structure, then we'll be rotating likely to the valley area high. And in this zone, by the way, we have quite a bit of confluence for resistance. It's not just valley area data we got to worry about. We got a supply concern here, and we have the golden pocket. If we zoom out a bit, let's go to the hourly. We got the golden pocket 786 for 5-minute area here. If we pull a fib from this high to our low, we have the golden pocket here, and our 786 goes all the way up to here where this hourly order block is. But with the supply here and the golden pocket here, and we have an hourly order block here, there's lots of reasons for us to get rejected off this valley area high. So we got to prepare for that potential turnaround. But yeah, we'll have our target most likely hit either way. But a lot of it rides on how we behave right now, right? We have this little demand zone that we need to hold up Bitcoin's price if we lose this point of control. So if we come back down to retest these previous highs, and we fail, and we use the previous point of control as resistance, then we might not make it. We could make it there, of course, but That's a big warning sign that we're kind of losing juice on the run up. We can delete that. That supply zone's been mitigated. But that's pretty much it for Bitcoin. There's not much to it other than that. There's a lot of weird insider trading going on, by the way. I've been watching the Congress, politicians basically, on a platform called Autopilot, if you want to look it up yourself. But basically what you can do with Autopilot, and I'm not sponsored by them, by the way, it allows you to like track politicians, and it's not just meant for that, of course, but you can see what they're doing with their portfolio, and then you can decide whether or not you want to invest in it yourself after doing research. But I've noticed that there's some like financial politicians who are like known to do a lot of insider trading are buying like stocks that usually bet against the economy right now. So there might be something going on in the background that we don't know about or hasn't been discussed with the public yet. We'll see what happens there. But with all the stuff going on with the economy, you think you should be preparing for, I guess Bitcoin and some assets are going to be doing really well. Inflation coming up soon next week. Oh, you went in Cas too. Nice, man. We went in Cas from 80.02. Okay. Yeah, we got in a little bit late, about 2 cents higher. That's where I started telling people to jump in. When we confirmed acceptance into the valley area after breaking like the horizontal resistance of the right shoulder for the inverse head and shoulders here. We got an 80. Good job, man. That's pretty good. Yeah, right on. Sweet. So we're all making money together. We are connected for sure. My stop loss is at nice. Another day. And Noah, what's up, man? By the way, one coin just hit 0.097. Oh, Karma? Yeah, Karma's at it's close to 10 cents now. Oh yeah. Well, let's see. Let's take a look. Yeah, still pumping strong. Yeah, we're still just going straight up, honestly. Haven't really slowed down at all. And we're getting close to our main barrier concern between 11 and 12 cents. We'll see how we behave around there. I might just buy a bunch at the time and just like break it through. It doesn't take very much money to move Karma right now, guys. It's really low market cap. Is there anything you guys want to look at? Dot later? Okay, let's do it now. Pluff, we got, let's see, let's pull up the dot chart. Last time we looked at this was 2 days ago. We had the downtrending momentum right here. We have our building an awkward regression or trend here to escape the downtrending resistance here. Unfortunately, these usually break to the downside. So if we do, we could still get that full rotation up to our supply concern, or we could just slow crawl our way up, right? If we break a key level here and we come down to the macro point of control, it could just come up for a retest after grabbing all this liquidity from the regression trend and then bounce and then come up, or we can just maintain this awkwardly all the way up. So it's kind of we expected a potential rejection around this area, but looks like we've managed to break through it, use the POC as support, and validate it as support when we got that higher high, break a structure around $4.20. Let's draw this a little bit more appropriately. So here's our uptrending momentum. Here we go. Our regression trend resistance, so the pace of the sellers. Just watch the order books carefully with DOT if you decide to try to trade inside the regression trend, for anyone who likes to scalp these kind of things. Just watch the buy orders along this side here and the sell orders here. to make sure that traders are going to be respecting the trend line. And Confluence is using, like, this is the hourly time frame, so you could use lower time frames like the I would say the 15-minute to help define the trend, and the 3-minute structure to define your entries around these areas of interest as we get closer and closer to a squeeze event. And then target the highs, because you can see here is constantly taking liquidity from the upside and stacking more and more and more to the downside. So that's why statistically these usually break down until all liquidity is taken, and then we come up. But yeah, that is DOT right now, just caught in this little tight uptrending squeeze. But as we get closer and closer to the supply concerns, we'll be building confluence for that break to the downside. Right now, the key level that you don't want broken is right here, which is kind of low. So you'd want to try to front run it through SFPs at the top, or low time frame changes of character at the top of the ascending channel, rather than waiting for this to break, because the R&R is not likely going to be worth it before you meet the POC barrier. So try to enter shorts up here if you were going to try to short this to front run those breaks. And remember, every time we get a new strong high, rotate your key level. This is where it is now, but if we get a higher high here, this will rotate from here to here, at least on the hourly. But yeah, that's DOT. I'll be looking over here, look left, see where your wick levels are in case there's high amount of liquidity. You can look at the liquidation heat maps to find out what kind of interest we might have up here. Is we could sweep this high and then come down as well. And it looks like we just barely undercut it, so I don't see this coming, like, breaking to the downside yet until at least that is taken. Like, if we're going to come up and fail, we could fail here, we could come up and fail over here. But yeah, if you want to have that confluence for your shorts, this is a good spot to start. But that's DOT, man. I hope that helps you out. The Bitcoin's just ping-ponging around right now. I'm going to have to look at the lower time frames to dissect what's happening. Yeah. Get a bit of a squeeze. I gotta do refurbished hot tubs. Have a great day. That sounds like lots of fun. Alright, see you, man. Bitcoin broke inverse head and shoulders. Should we go long? That was a little late. There could be opportunities for a retest of this previous high here in a low time frame, change of character off of it. But yeah, the break happened. So the inverse head and shoulders, like, key level broke was right here. We came down and we retested it, and then we got the break of structure here, stop loss guard here, right? So this was the moment right here for a long. Entering in now, you should still be subject to the same stop loss. And if you are, you got to look at the target and see if that kind of risk to reward ratio is worth it. Like, I personally wouldn't recommend it. If you're lucky, yeah, you might get a 1 to 2. But it's like a 1.76 drawdown. So you have to use low leverage. You might be able to get yourself in on a continuation entry instead. So you can define it yourself a new invalidation point instead of this one. So we come down onto this demand zone here and have a low time bullish change of character on, like, the 3-minute. You could use its strong low instead. You initially have to target the local high. So you'd want to try to aim to put yourself in a situation where your risk to reward ratio is worth it to the unclaimed high, right? So if we don't get that continuation, you can use maybe an SFP warning or a bearish change of character to tell you to get out in case we don't get that full continuation. But if we do break that high, then you can adopt the continuation target from the inverse head and shoulders from there. So that's what I'd recommend if you're thinking about entering late right now. Just looking for the retracement, retest to this previous high, low time frame, bullish change of character. And you can enter in on that and then watch the unclaimed high as your primary barrier. Okay. Morning Bull Runner, how you doing, man? Your Bitcoin chart deserves VWAP. Where did it go? VWAP, oh, okay. Must have deleted it by accident. Sometimes when I'm clicking around, I'll delete stuff. Style. Oh, yeah, always remove the bands personally. There we go. VWAP is back. And VWAP is king. And we're just riding below the VWAP right now after it reset last night. What are we thinking on Solana? Let's take a peek. We can look at Solana. It's been doing pretty well. Okay, so, we reached the top of our supply concern on Solana. We were talking about how it was breaking out of a rising wedge for a little while now, and it retested as support. For me to feel like we were going to get that continuation because we are tapping against the previous valley area low here. And this supply zone that I've got drawn is actually like an older valley area. So this is the valley area low all the way to the valley area high. We just hit that valley area high now. And I'll look back to show you. But yeah, we wanted to either have that SFP here or the full body candle close above to define that continuation. And we got that strong continuation. We ended up building a bull flag continuation structure. The measurable target for this would have been found from grabbing the mast from the high to the most recent low where we consolidated, click, drag. That would have told you where the next area of exhaustion would have likely been. And we only stumbled our feet a little bit before getting a stronger continuation up. So we can delete a lot of this noise now. We don't need it. We can adapt the momentum right here. We got some bearish divergence forming. We can zoom out on the daily. So this is where this came from. Right here, this previous high. And I was talking about this yesterday where we only got like 2 little bosses left before we start reaching all-time highs again for Solana. And like this is one of the 2. And we just pretty much defeated it. Right? So we got rid of all that supply concern. We could likely consolidate in this range, this previous range. Like we just hit the highs of the range, and we could come back down to around 226 if we lose the momentum that we were just drawing on the lower time frames there. If we end up using the valley area high as support, then we'll mitigate this daily order block, and then we'll be at our all-time highs. But this is like pretty much the only thing that we got left before coming up here. It's pretty intense. We can mark our horizontal array at the top here. Prepare for a potential sweep and fail. Potential reversal. Or at least an SFP to the local target. If we come up back up there, that's a pretty decent pump from where we are. Might not look like it, but it's 23% from where we are. And delete this. Now if we look internally at the 15-minute, we've got this bearish divergence. We have this local demand zone right here. We have the 15-minute order block right on top of the previous high. So we can mark our zone of interest right here. This could induce support for a local range. Send back. We can delete this. Let me zoom out one more time. I just want to grab the previous value area high. Okay, right here. And let's grab the previous point of control. Now that we're going to be dancing around here for a little bit. Cool. All right. And we can see that on Solana as well, flush with the 15-minute order block, we got that previous point of control. So we got some decent confluences of support within this range that we can watch out for. So if you're looking for shorts on Solana, these are going to be your primary barriers that you're going to want to watch along the way down. And I'm fairly confident that since we claimed all this area, we did it kind of aggressively, so I think that we're likely going to come down. But if we do, I think that I'm pretty confident that we're going to stay within this range in continuation. Or this could be a good spot to prepare for reversal, of course, but no matter what, I think that we're going to consolidate here for a little bit. Let's see, where's our, so right here is our key level. If we break this, we have to watch the VWAP in confluence with the low that we could bounce off of. But otherwise, if we break past that, then this is our next area of interest to prepare for potential longs when we start breaching into this zone. 15-minute order block, previous point of control, local demand, previous highs. Then we prepare for a potential bounce to come back up to retest these highs again. So if I were to draw a pathing, what I expect to happen is a bounce here, retest, come down, and then see how we behave when we get here. No problem. Okay, so that's Solana. Yeah, let's look at it. It structurally is positioned in a way where we should be preparing for shorts. The divergence in the previous value high, and how high we are, and how aggressively pumped. We normally have a decent reset, and we could still maintain this momentum, and then get squeezed against that value area high. Let's get this all closed here. There we go. So we went over DOT. We went over Solana. We went over Cas. Cas I'm a little worried about right now against the 50-day EMA right now. We got that inverse head and shoulders posture. If you zoom in on the 15 minutes, a lot more transparent. So I'm hoping that we just sweep the liquidity from these lows and then get a bounce from it and have our continuation and maybe build a little bit of a descending channel. I mean, descending triangle, and have our continuation from there instead. We'll see what happens, but yeah, what we don't want to have is full body candle close on the 15-minute below these wicks. Or else we can start seeing us undo some of our gains along the way down. Can we do CRV? We sure can. Let's see how CRV is doing. I don't know if I have a CRV chart. Let's see. We do not. Okay, so we can look it up on here. Got curve. They do a lot of they have a big reward system, so just be aware of their inflationary damage. Building this descending. Okay, a bit of a pennant was breaking to the downside. We've got this local demand zone right here. We're coming into right now. So we're at a spot that we're hoping for support, but this gives the previous value area high, which we're kind of like resting above right now, where most people would prepare for shorts. and the 50-day EMA. Since we're below those two areas, it gives the price action a chance to see them act as resistance, unfortunately, which could then start inducing continuations along the way down. We got that head and shoulders kind of structure too, warning us of potential sell-offs, distribution. If we zoom out a little bit, let's see what we got. We can delete this noise. It's old news. So macro descending channel. And this is the momentum from November 2024, back when it was worth 21 cents. And that's worth 81. So we're starting to come up to approach that like high. This is like a daily momentum. You can see that we kind of dipped below it on like the 4 hour before we double bombed our way back up. It's like here. Yeah, CRV's got that rounded bottom structure now. And really it's coming to like test that demand zone that we're talking about and these previous highs right here. So we really need, this is like the make it or break it moment for CRV. Hopefully we get that higher high and then we continue up towards the downtrending momentum from there. Our next big boss, if we don't have giant sell walls here, it would be this supply concern and confluence with it. So we got this zone you should mark up, prepare for potential resistance here. We got supply risk there. There we go, short confluence. But we're at a good area of confluence to potentially prepare for that bounce. Just got to make, hopefully, breach past the 50-day and the previous value area high again. We can mark our value area here, this previous value area data here. And this could help us if we fail, right? So if we fail and we get acceptance into this value area from here, we could see continuations down to the value area low and be mindful of the previous point of control. We got decent demand zone here too, right flush with that value area high. So if this fails, these are like second up chances will be right here. Just gonna mark this volume shelf as local support too. All right, cool. So that's CRV. Hopefully we get that bounce and we get the higher high, so we can validate the 50-day EMA as support and start coming up towards our next area of interest, around 88 cents. Let's go back to Bitcoin. Still holding the previous point of control. Nice. So hopefully we breach that downtrending low time frame momentum and get above that VWAP so we can start attacking the unclaimed high here and get our continuation. POCB, POC point of control balance. Is the POCB strategy and signals available for Fanova 2? No, unfortunately, I don't have permissions to be able to add stuff like that on the Fanova side. XRP for Jordan. Yeah, we can do that. See how XRP is doing. I remember it looked like it was positioned to go down, but we got the break right on. Okay, so we never broke our bearish key level. When I meant by it positioning to go down, we have this downtrending momentum here from the all-time high. Right, we also had the inverse head and shoulders on XRP, except XRP kind of outperformed Bitcoin when it came to the inverse head and shoulders. Like it did extremely well. But now we are testing the previous value area low that we need to see acceptance within in order for us to get that better chance of continuation up. We can delete this or rotate this. We'll rotate this to this high. Now let's mark our, with our magnet tool, horizontal ray, clone, click, drag, there we go. All right. There might be a sell wall here based on the price action. That kind of behavior usually is caused by a sell wall. When you see that flat level of resistance, especially when you get that tweezer reaction, and you see barely any wicks, normally that's a warning sign for you to tell you to look at the order books for XRP. So if you see a giant sell wall here, keep an eye out on it, because once it gets released, like that sell wall is gone or it gets mitigated, then it'll be a lot easier for XRP to rotate to our next key area of interest. So that could be inducing a pullback. We'll see, we got this low time frame demand zone here that we're testing in confluence with the downtrending momentum. So if we come down here, we'll get a bounce and get the higher high. We can get that proper acceptance to the value area. And we might get that full rotation up to that value area high. But like I said before, we got these wick levels you got to watch out for. So if we get that legacy SFP, watch for your legacy SFP targets. And then, yeah, see how the structure looks after that. But these are your two spots you got to watch for potential sweeps and corrections. And the higher one's a little bit better because we get a stronger point of control at 1313 in confluence with it that could also induce a rejection for a short-term scalp. Cool, I gotta run a few stores. All right, good luck, man. Have a good rest of your day too. Don't forget to slap the like button. Thanks, guys. Thanks, man. Okay, so yeah, XRP is looking good. We got that. We broke the downtrending momentum. There's just a few warning signs along the way up. Otherwise, like technically, you'd be targeting the all-time highs again with this kind of structural break. It's just a matter of like how we perform along the way. There's a lot of things that could induce us to come back down. We have this broad momentum here that we can watch. The same way we watch the downtrending momentum, right? To track the pace of the sellers. We can track the pace of the buyers to give us an idea of how long things could take before getting to certain key levels if we were to maintain the same momentum, right? And like based on this, it suggests that if we were going to maintain this pace to the upside, that it could take about, well, it says 640 bars. I love it when it does that. I want to do that math. One sec. Switch to the daily whenever you see that problem. Yeah, 24 days is how long it's suggesting it could take for us to get up there if we maintain this pace. But we don't have to go all the way up there. As soon as we breach that momentum, then yeah, disregard that. Did we get the higher high here? We did. Okay, so we got the bearish change character on the 15-minute. Yeah. We got the eternal momentum here. Delete this now. Let's see how we perform off this demand zone here, guys. This is kind of like the moment now for XRP. See if we honest and go higher, get a higher high. Bitcoin's kind of the same boat, right? Everything's kind of looking the same right now. In these moments where we could undo our gains or get our continuation. Sterling, how is the win rate tracking going? And are you tracking the ones where the POCB rules aren't met separate? So yeah, just so you know, this is the automated sheet here. For the signal sheet here. We'll have the win rate without the POCB, with the POCB, and the win rate using the strong low or strong high stop loss suggestion. And we're going to find out between the three different separate criteria what will have the best performing win rate, and then that will replace our existing signals based on that. So the signals communication will change. once we have 100 samples. Sterling's been having a hard time updating this because when I share my charts with him, it's not showing him the premium indicators required. So we gotta work. We're working on a workaround right now, so we can get that all logged in there quickly for you guys. Can we look at virtual? We sure can. I think we have a virtual chart. Yes, we do. Okay. August 22nd is the last time we looked at it. It's a pretty interesting asset. Been a while since we looked at. Yeah, we're looking at the longs from here. So that was yeah, August 21st when we were looking at a long from this neckline break. And it looks like it would have performed really well, but how do you enter something like that? You would have to find you have to have entry conditions for around down here. Because by the time it confirmed, your candle was here. It was with the massive green candle. So your risk to reward ratio entering here, stop loss guard way down here, it wouldn't have been great. Let's zoom out here a bit. How did virtual do? So we came into we got core key area of interest for longs based on this demand right here. So impulse move up, built a base, impulse move up. It's a form of demand, right? We had the confluence of being squeezed between the previous point of control and the value area high, making it a little bit stronger, get fortified in both directions, right? And we came down, we tested, honored as support, added more liquidity below it, and then we fully mitigated it here. So next time we come down here, we can't really count on it behaving the same way, right? Demand zones and supply zones, they're like armor pieces being chipped away by swords, and this thing has been stabbed right through, so the armor isn't really there anymore. So next time we get acceptance into this valley area, like we did right here, this is an example of acceptance. When price action comes in, retests the value area high and gives the lower low, that break of structure. That's a form of proper acceptance to a value area. And a lot of people will take that and then target the opposite side of the value area, even a previous value area like this one. But you obviously have to be mindful of your barriers along the way, like the previous point control. And if you have any local price action like we do now, look at its structure to find potential warning signs as well, like this hourly or 4-hour order block. Okay, so that's what we don't want to see happen. We're at a 50-day EMA right now for virtual, like combating it, building, not bearish divergence, luckily, not in the 4-hour at least. Yeah, volume interest come back in as soon as we broke past this valley area high, this previous valley area high. We can delete this noise here. And we got this supply zone that we haven't mitigated yet. We'll send this to back. But this supply zone here, we got to watch it quite carefully. Because like last time we were here, we added more liquidity. We didn't sweep it. We stacked more above here. We had the confluence of that supply zone, the exit liquidity that's resting above here, and the 200-day EMA. So if we do get the higher high, it might be a short-lived pump. So we got to watch all the confluences that are occurring here in combination with structural evidence of a rejection, like a bearish change of character, and then use that as a warning sign to get out of any potential long positions that you might be in to prepare for our re-entry down lower. But otherwise, yeah, it's looking good so far, but we just got to be a little bit careful when we get up here. And if we break this neckline here, we have a target that will a continuation target of 187 with one other barrier along the way. But after that, you can see based on the price action, we'd have an illiquid pump most likely to 1.79. So one little step at a time. But this guy's a little bit of a big deal. Let's see how we do around here. I would set your alarm, if you're in a long position on virtual right now, I would set your alarms for these wicks. So the moment that they get swept, you should be preparing for a potential bearish price action. But that's virtual. Yeah, I hope that helps you out. But yeah, virtual, pretty neat asset, honestly. If you're a holder of it, you could stake it to earn more third-party tokens through their launchpad system, which I keep telling myself I'm going to do, and I never get to. I never get around to it. There's too much stuff to do. Yeah. Yeah, once we get above this VWAP, I feel like it's going to be game over. We're going to start pumping. Ha Therapeutics climbs on 1 million crypto reserve plan. Yeah, watching all these corporate entities start like preparing to accumulate Bitcoin's got me so like frothed up the mouth FOMO. I'm glad I got the position that I have on Bitcoin. All right, guys, what else do you guys want to look at? We went through virtual, we went through DOT, Solana, Cas. How's Cas doing? Went through XRP. Is there any other assets you guys want to look at? Crypto King, you're the one that gave me $100 today. What'd you like to look at, man? French Toaster, what's up, man? I gotta show you guys the ridiculous troll head here in a sec. How's that look? Friggin' ridiculous. I'll try to put it on the troll back there, but it's way too big. It's the market maker troll, so I replaced it with Jim Cramer's face. Is the other troll in the crypto space. Off with his head. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing great, man. Thank you. You hold H-bar, so maybe that? Yeah, H-bar. Let's take a peek. You can never have too much H-bar. September 8th was the last time we looked at it. You're scared. Yeah, I went overboard for Halloween this year. Like, Halloween's like my favorite holiday of the year. And I promised myself one day when I get a house, I'm going to go crazy and basically turn it into like a haunted house. And like this year, I was like, wait a minute, I own a house now. Let's go crazy. Kramer, good choice. Yeah. All right, so H-bar. H-bar went into our key area of interest. I was begging for it to come down here and grab all the liquidity for an entry. And we came down here, we got the 50% deviation of the valley area. We came in, we got acceptance into the valley area right here when we got our first initial like proper break of structure right there on the hourly. I guess we had it right here too. And yeah, then once we got that acceptance, start targeting the opposite side of the valley area at 26,496. But now we're approaching, we just started mitigating this supply concern along the way. Well, we mitigate the whole thing. And we're coming up towards that previous point of control. So this is kind of like, gives me virtual vibes where we have like this little boss that we need to fight in order for us to get that full rotation up higher. We can delete this. This is not relevant. Our point of control is on our equilibrium point. It's actually pretty common. We just got to watch out a little bit extra here. But yeah, if we get a break of structure above this area, then we finally get above this previous point of control and get a follow-up break of structure, then I'll feel a lot more confident about us getting that potential full rotation to the value area high. Because if you look here at the not only the price action, but the visible range volume profile. Once we get past this volume shelf, we're just going to sprint our way to the next area of interest right here. And around here where this volume shelf starts is where we have our wicks here. So if we get that acceptance to previous point control, we got to watch out for that sweep and fail. But it's relatively close to our point of control, our previous value area high. So this could be what if you have a target in mind, if you're entered a long down here, or if you just bought via spot, then this is your spot where you'd want to watch out for that rejection. And then we could get down and rotate back down to the previous point control. And depending on how we behave here, you can rebuy or hold and see if we rotate back down to the previous value area low, which is now not previous anymore. It's all active. So you can change that if you like. There we go. Cool. But yeah, H-bar is looking great. The pace of momentum suggests that we could get there if we maintain this momentum, of course, within 3 days, which is roughly the same each day that we got from Bitcoin too. If we maintain the momentum, looks like we're starting to lose it on the lower time frames here though, but it suggested roughly the same amount of time before hitting its target when we got that initial target. Now it's got a day and 23 hours left, but we're coming into the weekend, so the volume might start to dwindle and we could get caught in a range. Oh, I bought a new guy for my yard. 15-foot pumpkin with a tall skeleton. Nice. I was at Home Depot and I think I saw the same thing that you bought. I think how the hell do you store something like that? You gotta, put it in your, hopefully you have a good basement. Thanks, I'll rewind. Cool. All right. Do you think that we'll have a pull back down to like the 106K area? It's a big ask. Like, yes, I think it's possible for sure. But obviously we're currently in an uptrend. And if we have a moment where we can define the downtrend on like the lower time frames, because internally we're bullish, but macro, we're still technically bearish on the daily. Like we got that bearish change of character here. And because of the pullback structure along the way down, our strong high is still technically way up here. So I think it's definitely possible that we could come back down to like around 107K. But as time progresses, it becomes less and less possible for us to get there anytime soon because of like the 200-day EMA coming up, the uptrending momentum and the macro momentum is ascending, so it becomes like an ascending guard to that level. And we just have to have a few things occur in order for that to be possible. So when I tell people levels that are going to be hit, it's based on like how confident I am of certain key levels to break before we can get there. So in order for us to get to 107, like based on like the structure we have to lose the 50-day EMA again. We have to lose the previous value high again. We have to lose this strong low, like higher time frame strong low here. So we have like 4 barriers that need to break before getting to around 106 again. Not to say it's not possible, but just be aware that like A, B, C, and D need to occur before we can get there. When I see a structure to define a target like that, I'll definitely let you know though. Let's say, for example, like this double top gives a generative target, for example, of coming all the way down to, what did I just do? To 100, 103, right? But doesn't mean we're going to get there with this barrier here. So if we have a measurable target like that, that defines us coming back down to here, I'll let you know, and I'll let you know the barriers along the way that you'd have to watch. But nothing yet. Nothing for me to feel confident enough for me to say yes. But the likelihood is still pretty high. Do you think the alt season will start once the Fed cuts rates? I think an altcoin rally will start, but not the season. Yeah. The season, I define a season differently than most. I define a season when the funds flow out of Bitcoin into network tokens and then into like the layer 2s. So once I start seeing that flow of funds going from Bitcoin into networks, I'll let you know. But that usually occurs historically when Bitcoin's already confirming its all-time high. And like a lot of people won't know how to confirm the all-time high when it occurs, but the on-chain data is what I look for. So when we're at the 2.535 level here, and then we have a daily bearish change of character, the funds from Bitcoin flow into network tokens during that moment. And that's when the altcoin season begins. But we could rally our way to a season, because a season's like a lagging indication of when to buy. You want to be buying before the season occurs and then use the season as your exit plan, not your entry plan. Can you look at SWFTC? Sure. Yeah, whatever the heck that is. SWFTC Swift coin. I feel like I've heard of this. So we'll go to OKX. Go in the hourly. We got a rounded bottom right now. Are we in price discovery? Let's find out. Go to the daily. No. Okay, good. Swift coin. Why do I feel like I know this thing? Look at that range, man. 2,050-day range. How have I not heard of this asset yet? I feel like I've heard of it, but okay. So we left the value area here, this 2,000-day value area, before finally getting out of it. I wonder the emotional stress the investors were in holding this thing. Okay, so this is when we left the value area. Let's mark our value area high. Not that I think we'll come back to it, but an important level of pretty darn strong. We have our macro momentum here. There we go. We're coming slowly down to approach it again. We have this decent demand zone down here. Let me just mark that really quick. Send it back. Change it to long. There we go. All right, we're getting squeezed against that momentum. Okay. And okay. I'm just going to change the thickness of this really quick. There we go. All right, we have an apex point on November 2nd for this asset. Meaning it's going to make a huge make it or break it moment here if we still are between this downtrending momentum and this uptrending momentum here. This uptrending momentum has been holding it up since this whole rally began around October 2023. So it's a couple year uptrend here. It gives me Bitcoin vibes in the sense where it's just having these long-term consolidations that are helping a good reset for the asset. So we're having a healthy pullbacks, long-term pullbacks, allowing people to exit and new investors come in. Like this is 260 days right here. And then we have another reset, 44 days, another reset still actively happening, 224 days. So this thing seems to have its own little miniature cycles. So now that we're coming down to this key demand zone here, and the confluence of just mitigating this daily order block and this uptrending momentum starting to creep up. Like if we were to consolidate on this thing, we'll at least have an end date of around 35 days before we can potentially see the make it or break it moment. And then based on the behavior of the asset, like we are adding liquidity to the upside and keep taking to the downside. So if you're a market maker for this asset, you'd be looking up for an exit plan. And they would need to induce some kind of break. So I don't know the market makers for this asset, but the wicks are pretty wild, unfortunately. So this thing will be kind of dangerous to trade, but maybe something safer to invest in, like a spot hold, rather than a futures hold, because of these wicks being so wild, you can get knocked out of the race unnecessarily, you know? No, the good news is we do have like a rounded bottom structure on Swift. And we have our key level here that we need to have broken from that rounded bottom. Now, some traders would call this a frying pan structure, because it's kind of like the inverse of a cup and handle. We call them frying pans, right? When you have them backwards, instead of it coming down like this here. Doesn't mean it won't happen over here, but. So if we break this key level at 0.009547, I would expect it to start coming up to retest the downtrending momentum and fight against this 50-day EMA. So the pathing that I'd prepare for if this key level broke is something like this, mitigating the supply, hitting our head off of these previous lows that were once support and the confluence with the 50-day EMA. Maybe come down to retest and then fight against this and see if we get that continuation or not. But I would hope for something like this. If we don't get that break, expect it to range for a month. But that is Swift. And if we do get that break, then you can start looking at these pretty bizarre targets. Like it's a 2x to the target, which is just this local high here. We could get continuations from here. Well, it's not 2x, but it's 75% from the break of momentum. From the break of the key level, it's about 92%, close to 2x. And if we see this act as a form of support along the way, then you can start looking at all-time highs again for Swift. Like I don't know much about the fundamentals, but based on the price action, this thing's pretty balanced and it's doing pretty well, despite me assuming that it has a low market cap. And I assume a low market cap because of the wicks. It seems pretty easy to control its price action. But structurally looks more bullish than bearish. A lot more bullish than bearish. And there might be some structure to front run this, of course. You try front running this move, but that's the key level that I would wait for. What low coins are you looking at personally? Ones that haven't pumped yet. Question. Ones that haven't pumped yet. Depends on how you define. So, I would say trying to get Ondo below $1. That's one I'm investing in right now. Try to get. If you're looking at super low market caps, I obviously invest in Karma. My goal is to own 5% of that supply. That's very low market cap. That's like 658K. Its all-time high is 26 cents, and we're at 9 cents right now. And if you're buying into it now, it might feel a little sketchy because it's just been pumping. It's gone up like 100% since June. 120%. But there's only it's not even listed on CoinMarketCap yet, and it's just about to get listed there. Other than that, I don't really have low market cap investments. So sometimes what you might catch me doing like short-term burst holds on super low market caps during the altcoin season, like just prepping for the altcoin rallies. But those are mostly token sniff trades. And token sniff trades are like when you're buying an asset the day they're created, and you're defining the team as your the team's marketing plan as your entry condition rather than the market structure, because you won't have any market structure. And last cycle when I did that, I made a small fortune off a very, very, very small amount of funds, like turning $250 into 14 grand from a 30-day hold, for example, or putting like $400 in a 15-day hold for like $8,000. And they're all like super low market cap assets that we bought within a week of their creation, basically. So we're not really at that stage where we can do stuff like that yet safely. But yeah, I can give you guys a list later on for sure. I would rather you focus on the narrative. Like AI is a big narrative right now. Real world assets, RWAs. DOT is looking undervalued. Yeah, DOT too is definitely undervalued. If you look at it relative to its macro range, similar vibes like Swift in that sense, where we had a crazy long-term range. Like it is, like this range is over 1,000 days. Yeah, 1,200 days now. Its value area high is at $7.33. So buying it today could get you 2x. We bought it around 380 area. And now we're just really want this high to be broken. Because man, every time we break momentum, this thing always runs up to the value area high. But the moment we buy, it only gets about halfway there and it falls, right? So I'm hopeful that we see DOT break this macro neckline here, so we can get that buy side liquidity to help pump us up to the value area high from there. We do have a supply barrier along the way, but that could help us just induce a retest and consolidation for continuation. But yeah, I agree with you in the sense where it's kind of undervalued. But its tokenomics kind of caused this. So next cycle, I won't be an investor in DOT next cycle unless they change their tokenomics. Same with Filecoin. I won't be an investor in Filecoin next cycle either. Okay, one more. HNT. Sure. Let's take a look at HNT. HNT. Helium. Oh yeah, this one's kind of inflationary too. We can look at it on Bybit. Okay. Yeah, it's all-time high on this chart. It's around $40. It might have gone up higher because that does not look like first liquidity behavior. Let's take a look at another HNT chart. Maybe we got more price action that we missed. There we go. That does look like the first liquidity behavior, but I still don't know if that's the full price action. Went up to $50 on this chart. So it broke momentum, rallied. Was that last cycle? No. Okay, we had 2, 3. Sorry, just looking around. So what? This demand zone marked. Internal momentum We broke our daily internal momentum. We're fighting against the 50-day EMA right now after mitigating this supply risk. We swept this high with this wick, I believe. Let me double check that. Because if we did, we don't have to worry about this high anymore, just the local one. If we do get that 2 candle pullback on Bitcoin, it's daily, then we can get a daily SFP from this high. But we need that 2 candle consecutive pullback to validate it as an SFP. We did not sweep it. We're awfully close. At least not on this exchange. This exchange, this high here is at 2983, but this candle went up to as high as 298. So 0.003 of a cent. Didn't get swept on KuCoin at least, but it might have on other exchanges. We need to see HNT break its local downtrending momentum. We do have kind of like a low time frame version of what it looks like in the macro. See, we have this demand zone here. We fully mitigated it. We have this internal downtrending momentum that we're just breaking. And we just need to get that higher high so we can validate it as support and get above the VWAP in confluence with that. And then we can maybe start seeing it run back up above the 50-day EMA, because we need above there in order for us to have the chance for that continuation in the macro. But at least we have a decent reset so far. The measurable target so far, once we get that confirmation, which we're kind of just lacking a single candle to get that, as long as we don't breach this low. So I'd mark this. It's a really important break of structure. The pathing that I prepare for is if we do break this, so watch our head at the supply concern in confluence with the 50-day EMA. And then here, 15-minute order block. I'll be targeting at least here. If we lose this low instead, we'll probably likely just come right back down this tiny little low time frame demand zone here. So if this level breaks, full body candle close. Likely get a fast drop down. Quite a bit of fair value gaps here. We had some time away from the fair value gaps. And a lot of people don't know this, but when it comes to fair value gaps, the more time you have away from them, the less helpful they are, because normally the order book clearance is gone and they start to fill up over time. So it won't likely get that fast drop if we start seeing a lot of buy orders coming into this area. But this is a key area here, alongside with this downtrending momentum, the previous highs. So if we come down, expect buy pressure at 244. So this is, again, another make it or break it moment where we're going to define a continuation or crap out and fall. It seems like every asset's kind of in that state right now. Right? DOT being in the regression trend along its way up towards target. Bearish on its own. Break this key level, we come back down, undo our gains. XRP too, trying to confirm this downtrend momentum as support with acceptance to the value area. Right? If we fail to do that, we won't be able to hit its measurable target. Solana, well, Solana's in a good position either way for shorts, but only has like one boss left before hitting its all-time high after we get out of this value area. Let's go back to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's still holding up. Can we take a look at pump? Yep, we can do that. And I don't know if we have a pump chart yet. We do not. Okay. We can look at our where we usually do our TA on pump. I guess here. Okay. It looks like we were preparing for a potential short. If we broke this key level, we get acceptance into this valley area here. And then start coming down to retest the valley area low where you expect to bounce. We never broke the key level, so we held above the valley area and used it as support. Kind of danced between this previous point of control. Used it as support eventually. Came up. There's our valley area high. We'll mark that really quick. Nice. Get that break of structure out. Used our previous highs here as support. Got a tweezer reaction off of it. And now, are we in price discovery? We're really close. Super close. So we're almost at all-time highs. We can mark that. So pump is finally pumping. Like a lot of our TA before where this thing was just mostly bearish. Okay, this is the 4 hour. We got let's go to the hourly. All right, so we lost here our momentum internally, got that, failed to create the high. Oh no, we got the higher high. And we came down into our demand zone, bounced off of it. Mitigated that whole demand zone, unfortunately. We can still mark it. Just can't count on it to be reliable. Because of when we come down and we grab these demand zones, we induce liquidity below, right? And that's usually where the market makers want to kind of come down and sweep for an entry. So we can't count on support being at this area. Not like we used to, at least. And we might have confluences with fibs to prepare for potential bounces off these areas. Like this. Let's see. There's not very many layers of confluence that I would trust that fib level. And we got super low time frame internal demand here, which was also mitigated. We swept this low right here. We have this downtrend momentum. Yeah, this little guy here. So since we mitigate this area, this is our next key level of interest on pump, where you might see a squeeze against this little small demand zone. We'll see how we behave off of it. We get that bullish change of character. And this kind of aligns with the fib from this low to this high. Our golden pockets align with that demand zone. So maybe that layer of confluence could induce a reversal and break the downtrend momentum, and then from there you can start targeting the local high, like the unclaimed high, for that continuation up. We're getting really close to the all-time high from here. So if we do get that continuation from here, we might actually manage to hit it. But once we're there, 100% of people are in profit, so prepare for bearish price action activity. We have a psychological key level right here too at 0.007, that rounded number. So once we get that higher high, just prepare for a potential rejection. But if I were to draw pathing, what I would prepare for is like 3-minute structure. Right now we're in the 15-minute, but I prepare for 3-minute structure around here for the bullish change of character. To front run potential move to this potential high here. That's pump right now. If we somehow like get a continuation instead, I'll be watching this level hawkishly. Just be very careful. If we do not get the opposing change of character, I wouldn't touch it, because we could get a continuation down, break this level, and then start coming down to this range here as potential support. But yeah, pump's doing really well. Congrats to any holders on this thing. Could delete that. That didn't really confirm. That's pretty wild. But that's pump. Let's go back to Bitcoin. It's starting to come up. We're testing the VWAP right now. So hopefully break through it and have it act as support. And then we'll be targeting this local high in hopes that we get a body close above it. If not, prepare for the SFP and target the local SFP target. Can we take a look at Atom? Yeah. I hold Atom. It's one of my only, like, I got like 2 assets that I'm holding that are failing, and it's one of the 2. Look at this chart. Last time I looked at Atom was May 12th. Might be a messy chart. Let's see. Yeah, Atom lost its bear market lows here. Like, it was consolidating in this for a long time. Like right now I'm on the daily time frame. If we go to, where's my measurement tool? Yeah, this was consolidating for about 754 days. We came down to our previous valley area low. We've been honoring it as support ever since. Oh, we had, what was that? I just deleted it. What was a long position that we were looking at before? Yeah, pretty good confluences here for longs before last time we were looking at it. And I remember talking about the downtrend momentum and being a problem that we had to watch out for, but we breached right past it and hit the previous point of control and passed the local valley area high. Now we can adapt this fixed range volume profile pull to with the current price action. We can just change this so it's the valley area high. This is a wick level from before. I just had a brain fart. Let's change this to valley area low. This being local valley area high. And right now we're at the point of control, trying to use it as support. So, yeah, Atom really needs to get past this previous point of control. It's been halting the price action every time we deviate away from the local valley area. And we've been ranging inside this valley area for 221 days after losing our bear market low levels. And the last trade we did was this wild one here. We'll see if we have something like this again occur. Because kind of what we need to have happen is just basically, break a structure off of the local valley area high and getting that higher high, or off the POC, and then we can expect a fast move up like we did here. We have one concern along the way. The big primary concern is this supply zone here in confluence with this previous valley area high. So we can mark that level just so we're aware of it. Hopefully we breach right through it, but we should be going into it preparing for it to halt the price action and bring us right back down. But let's go into the lower time frames. So we have this macro momentum here that will help us out. This tells us the pace of the buyers. It's been holding it up since June, about 81 days now. Let's give you the same kind of vibes as the last time we had the squeeze event right here. Except the positioning here was much, much better for long traders. Like deviating below the VWAP, not the VWAP, the value area low, and breaking the internal momentum. Like that was a really good setup, honestly. It being at the point of control, it's not nearly as close of a good setup. But we could have that breach of this point of control and then finally get that faster move up. Where then I'll be starting to target, around $10 again for Atom. That's like a 2x from where we currently are. Zooming in on the lower time frames, like the hourly, let's see what we have. There's our macro point of control here. We had this uptrending momentum. It's starting to dwindle, fall and fail. Let's see. Where's our key level? Here. So our key level is way down here, unfortunately. So we do not want to have that one broken with the full body candle close, or else our path, well, hopefully will look something like this, where we honor the support level and continue to go back up. Otherwise, this could be the moment. This consolidation could help define a continuation as well. So we breach past this high, get this break of structure. Start going from there. Mark our previous highs just in case we sweep and reject. Clone this. Add it here as well. But yeah, we got all of our barrier concerns labeled for the local moves. But yeah, basically two scenarios. Oh, my alarm just went off. Scared the crap out of me. Two scenarios. We get the bearish key level break, come down, retest the uptrending macro momentum, right? We have a squeeze event occurring, and with crypto is inpatient space. We normally break out 30% prior to the apex point, and we're beyond that right now. We've got we're close to 10% left before we have that apex point met between our peak here, where these two areas converge. Right, so that's the bearish case scenario. Hopefully, if you're looking for the bearish case scenario, you front run this break through maybe a SSP sweep of this high, right? That'll be a much better position for this, and this will just help guide you into a continuation to hold your position. Otherwise, we have this break here. Prepare for a retest, higher high. Then we can come up, get that continuation to our value area high. Kind of got that Wyckoff model being built here. Awkward kind of posture, but get the 3 taps. We'll see if this third tap is the last one we need to break through this area. Well, yeah, it's also at a make it or break it moment. Bitcoin getting above the VWAP. We really want to have the body close above this wick. Hey Kyle, how's it going? The challenge, and could you do Flux? What do you mean by do Flux? Are you talking about the Karma Flux airdrop? Because it's already been done. All right, yeah, so we went through Atom, went through HBAR, Virtual, XRP, DOT, Solana, CAS. CAS is coming out to get above its VWAP as well too. And we don't want it to confirm this head and shoulders, right? We don't want this broke with the full body candle close. So our CAS trade is doing really well. The Bitcoin prediction, I didn't take the Bitcoin setup. I took CAS in replacement of it. Oh, Flux USDT. Yeah. Let's see. I don't think I've... Oh, that's a different kind of Flux charts. Flux USDT. Go on Binance for that. Got a double bottom. Higher low. Would have test the... Oh, went beyond the 886. Zoom out on daily. Just see our macro positioning. Okay, descending. Oh, my bad. Okay, daily internal descending momentum. We got this macro consolidative state here before we left the value area here. Retest it as resistance. Okay, how old is that value area? That is about 1,025 days, okay. Its position gives me the same kind of vibes as Altcoin. So hopefully there's not too much inflationary damage to this, and it's just a slight lack of interest or something. POC, or macro value high. Okay, so we got a deviation away from this critical value area. If we go to our fibs, pull it from the value area high to the value area low. Mark our equilibrium points. See what we have. So we deviate about 25% away from the value area. It's a healthy exit. Let's see. So these are, when you're between 25 and 50%, depending on how big the value area is, of course, they tend to give you like the best opportunities to prepare for our accumulation. And like right now we're at that level. We're at the 25% level. We got this demand zone that we can mark down below with this daily order block. Hopefully we don't get down that low again. Then we have a more local one here. We're trying to honor the 50-day EMA as support. Send this to back. Let's zoom in. And we have one a little closer, honestly. So clone this one. This one's a little bit more, until this one gets mitigated, this one's in charge. All right. Okay. So the bearish divergence, consolidated to create a reset. Nice. Okay. So Flux right now, it's trying to get to that state where we'll get that higher high to define a break of structure that could lead us to a break of this downtrending macro daily momentum. If we get that momentum break, I just switched to the 4 hour. We have a couple levels we gotta be concerned about along the way up. We got a high confluence zone here already just by looking at the supply zone, 4-hour order block, and comes with this 200-day EMA. So this is going to be a problem along the way up. So I'll send this one to back. There we go. So 27 cents could be a big problem along the way up. We have local resistance here. Could be resting liquidity above these highs. Prepare for potential rejection here too. It's like the low side of this supply zone right here, right? And it's where there could be resting liquidity up here. Like we use as exit liquidity for market makers, which in my opinion, if we broke past this downtrending momentum and we started grabbing that, we got a rejection, it would just help to induce the retest off this previous high to give us the higher high confirmation for the move up. So that's the kind of pathing that I would predict if we got that higher high break from here. So like Flux, it's positioned for a good move up. It's just what I like about the structure too is like it's got a lot of continuation behavior, right? So if we breach past this, like this is the technical target right now for the falling wedge internally, right? The falling wedge's targets are the top side of the structure, right? And that's where we have the local resistance that could help us induce a potential continuation posture along our way up. If we do get that target breach and we get a continuation, then we have this massive double bottom that could also induce a continuation from the buy side liquidity here. But we do have that 200-day EMA, 4-hour order block, supply zone confluence that could kind of ruin the party. So hopefully we consolidate to reset for a continuation and not just get a harsh rejection and then undo our move. So there's a big key level here that needs to be broken too. But the objective, if you're a holder of this, what you really, really, really want to see Flux do is get that acceptance back inside this macro range valley area with a break of structure like this. If we get that, then our potential probability of getting to that valley area high dramatically increases. And that's a massive move from where we currently are. 219%. It's just ridiculous. Just take it one threat at a time, and this is the main threat that you gotta watch. It'd be awkward trying to long into this, honestly. Like me personally, like seeing this as the level that needs to be broken, you'd have a really steep stop loss when you're trying to swing trade this to here. Your stop loss gotta be roughly around here if you get that break structure. So hopefully we get a pullback. Because even though when you're jumping late to the party, if you have a tighter stop loss, it puts your margin, more of your margin at work, and you can actually make more money getting at a higher price level in a futures trade than being in a lower price level with a really messed up stop loss suggestion. By the way, Optimus Price did not post. I noticed that this morning, actually, Pluff. I appreciate you bringing that up. I spoke to Otto about it already. So we're already working on fixing it. We had an issue as well this morning with my alerts, which is being used as a tool to help talk to the bot to provide the signals. That's Fanova side. Let's go to the best share side. But I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's not showing the screenshots. Showing you that targets are being hit, but not where the targets are, like they're supposed to. Right? We'll get that fixed. It just suggested a long right now on Bitcoin. Yeah, we need that stuff working again. We'll get that fixed. Let's go back to Bitcoin. I hope that helps you with Flux. Try to give as much information as I could. we take a look at Ethereum? We sure can. And then I gotta head out, guys. Gotta pick up my son from school soon. It's a bit of a drive. So we got ETH. Ethereum. Did we just break our macro key level? What's this orange line from? Oh, we did, finally. Okay, I see. So like Ethereum, and we're talking about this for a while now. And the reason why we had the chance to talk about it for a while, because it took a while for it to hit its target. But same kind of story with Ethereum when we compare it against Flux, where we just broke this falling wedge kind of target. Now, if you stuck by like strong low rules for your stop loss guard, you would have been stopped out. We got caught in this range before coming up to hit that measurable target, which is right here. And this is the key level that we really want to have broken in order for us to get that high probability chance of getting up there, because of this the previous valley area high inducing rejections here, getting caught in this local range. But now we finally had it honored as support. And we come up, we're testing a supply zone now. We can look at the lower time frames to see why I drew it. Okay, yeah, let's see that. Let's send this to back. But luckily, yeah, the lower time frames are looking pretty good. We got this little demand zone here. We're honoring it as support. We got the break of structure higher high. We're right now on the lower, like super low time frames, retesting these previous highs right now. We've got this doji. A doji is an incomplete confirmation, right? This would look like something like this coming up, and it being about something like this for an incomplete confirmation. So we need that lower time frame higher high. If we zoom in, the 3 minute, see what I mean? Came up, retest, we're just lacking that higher high. And every doji tells us that story. It tells you to look at a lower time frame to see what kind of structure we have to define a confirmation. It's always like that's why they call them indecision candles, because they're at that point where they're about to make a decision. And the following candle is usually the one that tells us, like dictates, whether we're going to get a continuation or a reversal from there. So we're just about to get that potential confirmation, but we really badly need that higher high to validate it. So if we break this high, then we'll start getting that continuation into the supply zone and hopefully mitigate it and hit our target right here. Otherwise, if we do get that higher high and we don't get that run up, prepare for the bearish change of character that can keep us in this range a little bit longer. That's Ethereum. Yeah, Ethereum's been pretty boring lately compared to everything else, honestly. All right, guys, I got to head out. I appreciate everyone who's been following, sharing, subscribing. It's always honestly, it's a lot of fun going through all these assets with you guys. But yeah, if you want to look back, we went through Cas, Solana, DOT, XRP, Virtual, HBAR, Ethereum, Atom, Pump, Flux, Karma, well, not very much Karma, and HNT, and maybe a few others like Swift. I appreciate the tips, guys. That's honestly really nice. I don't expect it. I never expect it. Crypto King, you didn't even ask for anything. I appreciate that, man. But yeah, reach out to me in the Discord if you need help with anything. Hopefully we'll find some new trades coming up soon. But mostly it's just about focusing on that continuation structure so we can hold our existing trades before we prepare for our next setups. And our next steps will most likely be preparing for shorts in the near future as we get closer to these supply zones and these areas of confluence for rejections. Like the area where I'm expecting potential shorts is around 119K. I'm expecting at least a short-term rotation to 117 after getting up there. I'm hoping for a high volume weekend so we can have a high volume Monday to kind of create a good reset. All right, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. So Monday at 11 a.m. It's our next live together.